51 minutes past the hour. From Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn to Brazil, the streets of the cities of Sao Paulo and Rio have ignited with thousands and thousands taking to the streets to protest fare hikes, political corruption, inadequate social services. Now, they are also demanding just and sustainable development. And on Monday, this is just on Monday, sources put the numbers of folks on the streets at 250,000 in Rio. And then on Tuesday, it was Sao Paulo's turn. Clashes with the police have erupted, but the anger, energy and action continues. Now, the protest began last week in Sao Paulo over a hike in bus fares organized by the Free Fare movement, which demands free public transportation. Brazilian President Dilma Rousseff condemned the violence, but said her government is listening to the voices calling for change. Here are some of those voices.
The bus prices went down, but Brazil wants more. We want a change. All of them want education, health and transportation. Brazilians are tired.
People woke up now. Things needed to change, like we need good public education for kids.
This isn't just for a 20-cent bus hike that we're here. We're here because of all this corruption that is happening in Brazil, and the people realize it now.
And so in the latest news, Brazilian officials in Sao Paulo and Rio de Janeiro have announced the reversal of that 10 to 20 cent increase on public transit fares, which actually prompted the widespread protests across the South American nation. Here's Sao Paulo Governor Geraldo Alckmin.
We will carry the burden of the budgetary costs to the states, making an adjustment in the area of investment and tightening our belts. But I understand transportation is important, that quality public transportation working at a high capacity is a priority. On the other hand, it's important to the city to have peace and stability, to debate topics that are raised legitimately.
Geraldo Alckmin there, that's Sao Paulo's governors. Now, the protests have evolved into communal outcries that have moved way beyond the original demand that of lowering public transportation fares. Eduardo Paes, Rio Mayor Fernando Haddad, Sao Paulo Mayor and Geraldo Alckmin, who we just heard from, said that the fare increase had indeed been reversed. We just heard that. Now, joining us to talk about the issues and the demonstrations are Daniela Mussi, who's a student, a Brazilian student at the University of Campinas, visiting this semester at Columbia University. Also, local activist Marty Goodman, who's an organizer of the Solidarity protest that will actually take place in New York this Saturday. Marty and Daniela, bon dia. Good morning.
Good morning.
Bom dia.
Bon dia. That's all I can say. Bon dia and obrigado. Those are my two words from when I was in Brazil. Standing in solidarity with all those folks on the streets. Daniela, talk a bit about what you're hearing about the atmosphere on the streets, what's happening, the ways in which people are fighting, and the impetus, the motivation, and the passion that we're seeing from such a long way away.
Okay. Thank you for this opportunity of talking about Brazil right now. Every Brazilian is talking about it. We on Facebook and every media, we're just talking about, we say this expression, the giant has waken up. We're waking up for political problems, and we don't want anymore that these problems be resolved without our opinion. And that's very important. That is very much what's going on with Brazilian people right now. It started, as you were saying, it started as a mobilization against the increasing of the bus fares in Brazil, but it took many other issues, as corruption, as public education, health, as the fight against the police repression. So it's something more big than what started it. And just to make a compliment on, just to make another statement about our last victory, it's very important that people know that this victory that our governors and mayors are announcing, it's very it has some contradictions on it, especially because now the revocation of the bus increasement, it's made with subsidy of public money to these enterprises, these bus transportation enterprises. So people are now asking that we don't want this bus fare to be increased, but we don't want to pay it with our money, with financial support from the state to these bus enterprises. So even this fight, this small fight, it's something that we're still having confrontation with the governors.
And so the battle is being expanded, and you're seeing the way the class divides happen. And so, Marty Goodman, solidarity protests happening in New York Saturday. Take us through what's happening and what folks need to know.
Well, I think it's very exciting. This Saturday, supporters of various struggles in different countries will be gathering in Zuccotti Park, or Liberty Park, as some people said, the Occupy Wall Street Park, down near Wall Street, 2:00 this Saturday. Folks from Turkey, Greece, and Brazil will be demonstrating there in Zuccotti Park to support the struggles that are going on in these different countries. And I'm not from any of those countries myself, but I understand that what's happening there is the wave of the future here, because we're under terrific punishment as working people. Our wages, our pensions, everything is under attack, and we all need to come out and support the struggles in these countries. Brazil, I get a special kick out of what happened there because I'm a former transit worker. They beat back a fare increase by pouring out into the streets in the hundreds of thousands, and were able to defeat the fare increase, and now they're demanding more justice. So we have to support that. That'll be 2:00 in Zuccotti Park near Wall Street this Saturday.
Okay, and so closing words to you, Daniela. We know that there are more protests planned today, and also with the 2014 World Cup. As you talked about, there's a disparity in class. Talk a bit about how the fight moves forward and the different demands as we close.
Okay. Yes, today it's going to happen. It's going to happen. A lot of demonstrations around Brazil. The demonstration has been divided between national or unifying demonstration in the biggest cities and small diverse ones in the small cities and regional capitals. And all of them are being huge. We're speaking about cities, smaller cities with thousands. Yesterday, Fortaleza, for example, which is the capital of Brazil in the Northeast, had like 80,000 people in the streets, and they suffered a lot of repression. So the Brazilians are protesting every day. Every day we have a new protest that is coming to our agenda that we get to know here, also here in New York, with international solidarity. The repression in Turkey, in Brazil, and other countries, they're not coincidence. They are most alike. They're very similar.